Convo here. All right. So what's up, Alpha Squad YouTube, y'all? This is that Go Hard or Go Home channel. All right, y'all homies, y'all already know who I am. It's Taurus down here, okay? So today I got the Black High Priestess with me. You know what I'm saying? She reached out to me over a Facebook post because sometimes I be commenting on that Facebook and junk, and I kind of piss some people off on it every now and again. But y'all know, if y'all be watching me, I've never had a woman on the channel, so she's got some different issues now that she wants to talk about. We're not going to get into all of them today, but we are going to go over a little bit of it so y'all can see what we're going to be talking about Monday in case you decide to join in around 1 p.m. Central Time. Okay. Uh, Black High Priestess. We were talking about things like what should a woman bring to the table? What should a man bring to the table? And it kind of struck me that you said, hey, look, some of these women out here thinking they ain't got to bring nothing to the table, and they want this out of this guy. So we don't really get a lot of that. So we kind of really want to hear a little bit of your opinion on it today because we're going to hear some more Monday. We're going to get a whole gist of it Monday, but a little bit about that, what they need to bring to the table, and why should they have to bring something to the table?
Peace, everyone. I'm Black High Priestess. So to answer that, what I teach a lot of spirituality and things about sacred femininity, and in terms of women thinking they don't have to bring anything to the table, I know you've done uploads about Shira 7 and the Sprinkle Sprinkle movement. I also have too, and that's kind of how we connected. So specifically in reference to Shira 7's book title and the concept of bringing nothing to the table in dating and in life, it's not biblical and it's not scriptural. And also, I think that it's not very applicable in the economy that we're in. And when I get male perspectives, which I do a lot, and I listen to men and I talk to my male friends, and also my father, has taught me a lot. As a model, I tend to be around men who like beauty, who like to be around beauty. And I talk about how beauty can affect different people differently. But when men like beauty and they like femininity, there are men that have very high standards for women. And my father had a very high standard for, I don't want to say very high, but my father had a high standard for beauty and um, for women, and he would not allow us to be obese. He had a problem with obesity and things like that. And my father, he knew I was beautiful. He never made me feel I needed to change my beauty, but he also made me understand that being beautiful as a woman is important. And while I'm not saying that beauty is the only thing you need to bring to the table, as a model, my experience with men can be very different than women who may not attract men based on their beauty. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but so what I guess my perspective, the perspective that I'm coming from, is that even as a woman who has been told you're the most beautiful woman in the world, you're the most beautiful Black woman I've seen, as many compliments lifelong that I receive just on how I look naturally, I'm still, it's not that, I'm expected to meet certain requirements, but at the end of the day, a lot of women who are talking about bringing nothing to the table, they're not 8, 9s, or 10s. They're not 11, 12s, 13s. They're not off of the Richter scale of what the scale even is. And there is a delusional disconnect between the idea of being a woman who is not even beautiful by the standards, wanting men who have money, which again, most men are not wealthy by the standards. So we're creating enormous standards that are not grounded in reality. But as a woman who meets the aesthetic standards, and again, there are men who meet the financial standards, and men who meet financial standards and the women who meet these aesthetic standards are saying things very differently than people who don't. That's all I'm trying to say. So,
Exactly.
so if a one, so in my upload about the sprinkle, the idea of a woman who is not even bringing beauty, to think that she shouldn't bring any other qualities that a man may desire just because she was born a female is it's not only delusional, it's not biblical. The Bible does not say, and here's the thing, the Bible does, a man is not your ticket out of having to work and having to develop and having to be an adult. Neither is a woman, for the men who like to, the bum season where men like to hook up because their lease is up, or they homeless and they need a place to stay. If you
Right.
don't work, you don't eat. And I believe the scriptures say that to some effect. So in life, you have to pass rites of passage in indigenous culture, which means you as a man and a woman, you're developing skills. I can braid my hair. I'm in the process of taking out my locks. I know how to braid my hair African style. Hair braiding is a skill. Um, Agriculture, being able to eat healthy, being able to cook food that is healthy, that will heal people, which is what I talk about in modern witchcraft.
Right.
These are skills that women learned through other women that were passed down before you had a right to marry. Men hunting, gathering, developing before money. There were other skills that contributed to a man's wealth. And
Well,
farming, taking care of cattle, dealing with animals used to be a man's wealth. There were rites of passage before male and female, before you were considered an adult and considered ready to marry.
right.
While there are some cultures where you just have to be a female, or where a daughter can be sold essentially to a man as chattel, as a wife, but the daughter is basically sold. Yeah, she doesn't need to bring anything to the table. If she's performing as a slave, then she's being sold by her father. So I guess what I'm saying is, and the thing that we connected on is, um, the things that Shira Seven is saying, and the concept of bringing nothing to the table, it's not even grounded in royalty. And the standards that we're talking about apply to royalty. And even a princess, she is bringing the wealth of her nation. She's bringing the army of her nation. She's bringing access to the resources of her nation to that
Right.
marriage. So even a princess, and once she becomes queen, she is expected to create an heir to the throne, because that marriage is about an alliance. It's not about love.
Right.
So
You got
when you're taking women who have no princess, no royalty, no regality, and were not groomed to be um, monarchs,
right.
to have the audacity to ask a man who's probably struggled if he's black to get his wealth, to
Right.
give it to her when she's bringing nothing to the table, and frankly probably not even bringing looks that will elevate his status as a modelist.
Right. And
um
that's
we're getting beyond where this is dysfunctional, and it shows how women have stepped out of their actual place, whatever
okay.
place they were given. They're out of it.
Right. Right. And hey, let me give you I'll send it to you later on the thing. Let me give you a tip about your background there. But yes. Okay, so bottom line, the basic thing what you're saying is right now is that in layman's terms, some of these women is asking for something that they shouldn't be asking for because they believe that there's something that they're not, or they may have been misled in believing there's something they're not. Well, it's not even able to believe that you're that or not because you don't fit those criteria. What you're saying. So people.
The idea of a woman bringing nothing to the table is not grounded in scriptures. It's not grounded in royalty, actual monarchies. It's not grounded in politics. So
Mhm.
what is this belief grounded in?
I think it's grounded in
You
laziness.
know, we can go there, and that's how we kind of discuss the idea of gold digging, prostitution, because this belief is not even grounded in prostitution, which was sacred femininity before it be turned into something corrupt. We're dealing with the Vesta virgins, the women who were given gifts from specifically the men who were in the priesthood, or the men who were royals. maybe some warriors who could afford through their service to sleep with these women, whose sex with these women was not for procreation, it was for spiritual portals and spiritual experiences and spiritual rites of passage, not procreation. Temple priestesses even were bringing something to the table. Now, modern day prostitution, and this is why I said Shira Seven's not teaching prostitution, she's teaching gold digging. A prostitute is bringing her sacred femininity to the table. The concept of a woman bringing nothing to the table is not grounded in anything sacred.
Right. Well, and like I told you the other day, and we'll probably talk about it again Monday. I ain't gonna keep you on here long. I know you got some stuff to do. This is gonna just be a little teaser for people. But it's just some of the stuff we're gonna talk about
Yeah, but
Monday.
we'll delve into these things, and we'll be able to answer questions that people may have about the spirituality of it, and sacred femininity, and what that really means, and how a woman can develop the sacred femininity needed to attract the mate she wants, or needed to simply, like, at this point, just be a better wife, be a better girlfriend. Most of you women have men already, and you end up single because you are trying to be something you're not.
Right.
So hopefully this will be a good commercial for us to be able to talk about these from male and female perspectives.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can encourage women to access what is needed to have the healthiest relationship with a man that she can.
Yeah. And like I was saying, though, I want to tell you again about the sprinkle lady, her thing. Okay. I understand how women are looking at that, but I'm telling you, and we'll talk about it again deeper Monday. Guys are going to see what she's saying as prostitution. You're gonna we all see it that way. It doesn't. We know that it's got its things in the past and all this stuff right here, but when you're approaching these women, and especially the way that she tells women to act, basically you approach this woman, and this woman gonna tell you she's selling it. You got to pay for something. You got to pay this. You got to pay this. I mean, I've had that happen to me like a lot of times in my life. Even put no, and the thing of it is I would think that people would see that as I know guys see it as disrespectful, but I would think that women, if if anybody you got to pay to be their friend, that's a problem. You see what I'm saying? So it kind of works with that one. But those are two things that you brought up that I do want to get out there that we're going to be talking about Monday, and we'll also be talking about the fact that you don't view that in a bad way. These women are saying, okay, I want this, and you're like, hey, look, that's cool, but you look like this. You see what I'm saying? Same thing I would tell a guy. Hey, I want this type of girl. Yeah, homie, but you 5'4", you live in your mama basement, and you 200 pounds, and you play Madden all day. You know what I'm saying? You're probably not gonna get a date with a dime. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of one of the things I want to break down, because I want to get your perspective, but like from the females, because I heard you were saying like, nah, this if you ain't this, you probably shouldn't be asking for this. And I think that's a perspective that guys are gonna want to see, because most women don't talk from that point of view, especially when you was like, hey, look, hey, woman can have her own job, she can have her own money as long as you ain't lazy, But if you don't depend on somebody, and it's not really just depending on a man, you're right about that. It's not about just depending on a man. If you're gonna depend on anybody as a person, you probably a lazy joker. You know what I'm saying?
That's the Bible says, if you don't work, you don't eat. And prostitution is work. Gold digging is not, I mean, it could be, it's digging, but at the end of the day, I think it's important that women understand too. I'm getting into the spiritual, because I bring things to the spiritual realm, and I bring it to create solutions. And I think that women need to hear from a man what a man feels like, because these women will not listen to men. They won't even and that's kind of where we connected on the Facebook post.
Yeah.
based on the a black woman was bashing another black woman for paying a black man to help her date. And what are we so far into feminism that we are now bashing women who are making the black dollar bounce because she wants a male's perspective, or because she feels that this man can help her better than someone else. And now other women who are already married are telling single women what to do with their money. We have gotten so far into the feminism and everything that women just simply don't know their place. It's like the moment a woman gets a man and gets marriage, now she is behaving like the single women and she's all in our business. And for me, I know that the men are gonna want to hear it, because these are things I hear from men that I'm wise enough to apply. But again, a lot of when, and I think that we can talk about classism a little bit as well, because a lot of women may not have had a father figure or a masculine figure or a community with men that set the standard for femininity. And when you are in an impoverished, oppressed community, which tends to be most of the black communities in America, or what I'm saying is there's a lot of communities that oppression, you're going to see predominantly black and brown. And when you are dealing with places where the dynamic between men and women is different, Shira 7 does talk about a certain class level where men where they have that money, so they're going to respond very differently to dating a man who comes from oppression and has had to gain his wealth or gain whatever money he has very differently than people who come from wealth privilege or white privilege. And when you are approaching the dating realm with the insensitivities that black men and black women have toward one another, because we can turn on social media and act like we're something we're not, and act like we're something other than oppressed people. And it gets to my point of, how dare you all? You all are not even models. You haven't even met the standard of being the ideal representation of something, and you want the ideal man. I think for me, I think women need to hear it, because men are not brave enough to say it. Toxic masculinity has shut men up a lot. You have men that are saying it in ways that are mean or contrived, in terms of podcasts, where you're having the stupidest, ugliest women call in, and you're not having a woman who, people may actually take seriously. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I know my experiences
Oh,
with men.
I
And
definitely
I think that women need to hear stuff that men are not telling them.
I definitely agree.
Or women need to hear things and learn to listen to what a man is saying.
Uh,
You know, be willing to hear the truth.
right. Look, I agree with
And
you on
if we can get truth in a peaceful way without without the intention of offending or insulting someone, I think
right.
it would be heard better when a male and female are giving their perspective.
And that's what the conversation on Monday is going to be about. Because, like I said, I I agree with you on some of the points you were just making. There are a lot of guys they use this. That's one thing about my channel. That's why I said I let you come on, because I don't want to use my channel to bash women. That's not my thing. My channel is to help guys get a better connection with women, and some of that's going to be through knowing some stuff about them. I mean, we already know these things that you're going to be talking about, and some of the things we talk about today, but ways around that for guys and girls, and ways of recognizing certain things. Like for example, you say, like, you're an attractive woman, and you say that, and there's no problem with that. So say, for example, like I tell guys all the time, hey, it doesn't matter how good she look. If she treat you a certain type of way, this is the feeling that Joker has. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if you're getting it from a two or a 10. If you're not getting treated with a certain type of respect or decency and level, then that person don't think that of you. And a lot of guys, I think we're gonna work on that one. But like I said, we're gonna get on that Monday, because I don't want to keep you on. I know you got some stuff to do today. So we're gonna go ahead and close this one out. I just want to get there and introduce you. You're from the Shy, right? Chicago,
Yep, I'm from the Shy. I'm from
Midwest.
Chicago.
motto. And on Monday when you get in here, I'm gonna change your I'm gonna still keep your Black High Priestess, but I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get you to the, like Steve Mindset at Go Hard or Go Home. Make sure your channel is up there too. I'm gonna put that up there. I gotta get that this weekend.
I'll get my Instagram on there, no doubt. All right,
So
we're going to create some solutions on Monday. And the best thing about Monday is it's going to be the beginning of Taurus season. So we're going to be a little stampede, Taurus and Taurus. So we're going to
yeah,
have we're going to have
no,
2 Tauruses on the channel. So that's going to be very appropriate.
I'm actually a Gemini, so that's just
Of
my
course
own.
you are, but your name says Taurus, so we doing the Taurus. We doing the Taurus. You gonna have to wait. We're
So,
gonna introduce the Taurus season with a
yeah.
Taurus and a Taurus.
So on Monday we're gonna be getting down about like uh women. Some of the things we're gonna talk about is gonna be women in the workplace. That's got some things that I think that need to be talked about too from different points of view, because I got some issues on that with that. And like we just got done talking about sexual market value is kind of what we were just talking about. And I want to talk about it from not just from talking about the women, but talk about with the guys, like how does they do, because like you said, the woman, okay.
All right, we will talk Monday, and I will see you all Monday. Peace and love.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Peace. We catch with y'all there. All right, I ended the stream.